What's the rumpus, dudes and dames? I'm Pontius Porcius, and welcome back to Unexpected Awesome. The 20th century has many milestones for the work of fiction, not in the least of those being the proliferation and advancement of cinema. And the golden age of cinema is often marked to be the 1930s through the 1950s. And while there are many genres that I've marked on this channel, such as science fiction and westerns, very few are as trapped in that era and as personifying many of the more creative aspects of it, quite like film noir. An extant of the crime genre, it's birthed out of pulp fiction from the likes of Dashiell Hammett and, of course, Raymond Chandler. It generally occupies a more German expressionistic space between straight detective films or gangster stories where the characters can be almost anybody involved in a crime. And while many call it a bastion of gray morality, the most iconic trappings of it, that being the pavement-pounding nocturnal gumshoe, dodging duplicitous dames as much as he does powder-propelled lead, is ultimately more or less the creation of one Raymond Chandler and his landmark character, Philip Marlowe. Of all the Philip Marlowe stories to be adapted, the very first was unofficially adapted in 1942 in The Falcon Takes Over as an adaptation of Farewell My Lovely. A mere 2 years later, it would get adapted officially, but we're not going to talk about any of those films. We're going to talk about the neo-noir stunner that is Farewell My Lovely by Dick Richards and starring a noir powerhouse of Robert Mitchum. The story of Farewell My Lovely is as simple as it is circuitous. Philip Marlowe is hired by a ex-con one-man band bank robber to track down his ex-girlfriend, Velma. Starting off with the lead of a bar she used to work at, he finds himself in a shadowy spiderweb of deceit, including potential jade thefts, lying band leaders, as well as the personal lives and backroom double dealings of LA political bosses. He finds not only the bodies mounting, but the cops hot on his tail, as both them and he search for a series of killings, drive-by shootings, and lies. All ultimately wrapping up in a tragic romantic end for both Moose and his femme fatale ex. The potential connections between shifty bagmen, the roving gangs of gunzels, vicious madams, dive bar owner lush widows, and rundown debt collector dodging ex-band leader entertainers. The connections between all of these characters are never stated, but they're almost always somewhat indicated by the sequence of events that happen before the audience, leaving a perfectly arranged puzzle pieces of a mystery to be put together in retrospection. And all of this serves to excellently highlight the complexities and intrigue of both the world and its characters. The world itself is gorgeously presented with exceptional production values of props, costumes, sets, and some of the sharpest period-era dialogue you'll ever hear this side of Miller's Crossing. And all of it serves essentially as set dressing for exceptional performances. The supporting cast is outstanding, made up mostly of character actors and stars of the era, with the two highlight performances being that of the wife of the bent judge, played with demure excellence by Charlotte Rampling, and the world-weary and flawed yet ultimately knight-in-rumpled trenchcoat that Robert Mitchum downplays to perfection, who can be simultaneously incredibly sarcastic, yet also incredibly sympathetic. Mitchum's performance is the heart and soul of the movie, serving not only as the self-insert for the audience, but also as a point of humanity, as his search for justice puts him in both literal and legal harm's way. The only aspects of the film that I would say that aren't particularly spectacular is David Shire's score. While there is an exceptionally smooth jazz main theme to the film, most of the score is what I'd call competent, accenting the scenes that they accompany perfectly, but never truly standing out above the performances or Dick Richards' excellent direction. So, if you're in the mood for a bit of mystery, romance, and suspense, might I recommend 1975's Farewell My Lovely? Well, that's about all. Stay golden.